Everyone knows that atheism and science hold hands as they walk down the street. Recently, I was reading the biography of Andrew Carnegie, and he talks about being glad that he could jettison away mythical ideas of faith and religion and replace them with like down-to-earth, rock-solid substance. Basically, he was saying that he could get rid of his faith and replace it with science. And actually, there are a lot of people that replace faith with science because it leaves this really big gap in their life. And so let me go over with you several ways that science absolutely attempts to replace religion and actually does replace religion. One of them is that if you believe in the scriptures or you believe in Christianity, it is amazing. There are some amazing stories. And then if you stay involved in Christianity and you see how it applies to life, it's like, that is amazing. And then you see the promises, how they link together. That is amazing. And then you see the history, how it corroborates these things. It's amazing. But if you leave faith behind, then you got to have something to be amazed by. So you want to study about the distances to the stars. That's amazing. And the heat of plasma. That is amazing. And the depth of this mathematical Fibonacci sequence. That is amazing. So, you leave one for the other. Another is that if you're following religion, it's supposed to improve your life. Well, let's get rid of religion. And can science improve my life? Oh, you bet. Better combustion in the car, ability to travel faster, to go out in space, to be able to do things more efficiently, to have a microwave, to have medicine. Like, are you kidding? Yes, science improves life. What about science offering tons of intellectual stimulation? God created us to use our minds. And if you study theology and how it applies to every portion of life, like, that is very stimulating. But if you don't have that, you're like, I need depth. I need something to keep me grounded. And reading these articles, like, that information stimulates me. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying if people are using that as a replacement. Also, science is supposed to be what? The pursuit of truth? At least some people would say objectivity. That's what religion has claimed, or at least that's what Christianity claims, is that it is truth. But, science is chasing after the truth. You see how one is continually replacing the other. What about also the wanting to be part of something that's larger than the self? People get caught up in religion and having a place of a fellowship. I can come and be a part of this community, and I can take solace in knowing there's lots of us. And then when I need them, I can rely on them. And then I know we're making progress, etc. But if I don't have that, I want to be a part of something that's larger than myself. And science, oh my goodness, it is conquering everything by leaps and bounds. And then here's one last facet about science where it tries to replace religion, is that people think it's pure. Now, I know there's going to immediately be in the responses, people like, are you kidding? Science isn't pure. Like, we have to do peer review and correct each other, and people are exposed all the time, and it's always, we're always grinding and finding new things out of there. Yeah, great. That on this side of things, sure. But that is not the way science is peddled to the masses. It's actually peddled to the masses as pure and undefiled. It's very clean and precise, and it is what we should trust in. It is, how many people have said, it is the best that we have. It's the best method that we have. And see, Christians would disagree with this. They would say that it's not pure, not even close, because here's the question. If bad men can corrupt religion, if they can corrupt religion, what keeps science safe? What is it that keeps science safe? And a lot of people are going to immediately respond with, well, peer review. But it's interesting that peer review, like, number one, hasn't been scientifically proven that it works. Now, I'm with you. I consent and assent to the fact that it's probably a really good thing. But do we know that it works? In fact, it's like one subjective measurement versus another subjective presentation. I know the goal there is to refine it so much that it's only objectivity. I understand that. But we're dealing with human beings with motives. And so, again, the question is, if religion, which claims to be good, can be defiled by bad men, cannot peer review be defiled by bad men? I mean, some things about peer review. Does it pay well? Is there any glamour in it? Is there any fame to be had with peer review? It also takes away from the work and the projects that you are working on. And if that's the case, if every time I do peer review, it takes away from my work, and my work is terribly hard, and it's going to take me 30 years to accomplish this project, do I have time to do this peer review and do it well? And then something that is very well noted is, to get your doctorate, you need to bring something new to the table. You need to be incredibly specialized. And there are times that people are so specialized that no one else knows what's going on. And so how do you cross-check them unless you're just going to be tedious? And I can see it happening sometimes, but again, are the motives there to keep humans involved enough that we know that everything is on track? I heard one response in the comments that was, there is always somebody trying to tear you down in science. So that should be the cross-checking mechanism, but I don't believe that. And I'll tell you why I don't believe that. And it's not that these articles aren't sent to other scientists to cross-check, but I'm talking about some serious cross-checking. I don't believe that because here's the thing. If somebody is always producing solid data, I mean, they're just on top of it, then how much energy do you want to waste cross-checking them? I'm talking about, this is laborious stuff. And if I know Ron, who's in the other university over here, does excellent work all the time. I mean, that's just what he does. It consistently turns out consistent work. Then what is my motive for cross-checking him and really, really scrutinizing him for the long shot that it tears him down? So actually, I think something opposite begins to happen is I begin to trust my peers. I begin to trust the work that they put out, and maybe I even begin to rely upon it myself. So it wastes my time to tear it down, and I don't really have much to gain from doing it, and I can rubber stamp it pretty easy. I don't say that everybody does this. I don't say that everybody does this, but is it happening, and does it happen? We'll get to that in a minute. On the flip side, let's say there was a ton of BS going on in science. In some sciences, let's be careful here. Let's say I was in grad school and my peer over here was in grad school, and when things got tight, I had AI writing my paper, and things got tight. Well, I caught him writing, one of his papers AI as well, and we had to cheat to get through Boswell's class. I mean, it was just, oh my goodness, there's just no way to get through that. So we had to, fudge a little bit here and there. And if I knew there was a whole lot of cheating going on, then there might be a whole lot of reason to peer review, and that's actually what I'm saying. There's always somebody trying to tear you down. So maybe I believe it under those premises, but basically what the common man is being asked to do, and it's funny, this is what atheists and agnostics say all the time, is you can't believe somebody just because they say something. So when it comes to peer review, we can't believe it just because somebody says peer review is happening and it's excellent. You shouldn't just accept it as that. And if science is what it is and it's open to challenges, then if peer review should be a challenge, why are we against other things that are challenging like peer review would be? Like what? That doesn't make any sense. So if bad men corrupt religion, what of men without morals? What could they possibly be doing in the world of science? So all of this brings me to the point of data manipulation in recent years, this whole data manipulation. And there's a myriad of ways to manipulate data. You could take not enough large enough sample size. You can not be specific enough. I know of one instance where a mathematician spent an enormous amount of time breaking through in a new area, and then people want to build off of his work, and then as he's watching them, they were rounding off his figures, and he was like, "Hey, if you round off those figures, none of what you're doing is going to work." It's okay. It's like, no, you got to take the time to do this. You know, we got things to do. We're going to push on. And so things like this happen in real life. What about having to, manipulate data to meet deadlines or to gather funding or to gain acceptance? Let's say you're struggling and you just can't get any traction. You can't get a good job at university. They also tell you that science is highly competitive. And if you can't really get a good job, like, what's the fastest way to get accepted? Well, to have some research that validates somebody else's research over there. As soon as you do that, boy, maybe you get some attaboys and yeah, like I knew I was right. And you want to affirm that? Good job. I'm just talking about the men with bad morals. But just those guys. So what about selectively recording data? I mentioned that a while back about reading the RADS manual, and they said you have to select your data. It's kind of like flavors in an ice cream. Oh my goodness, seriously? This happens quite often. Do you know that the government does things like this? Economists do things like this. Meteorologists and statisticians and economists, they do things like this all the time. You look at the data and you kind of massage the data and you build a picture out of it. It's actually why we've given it the term p-hacking. Changing data to like affirm what you're doing. And I dare you to do a Google search about p-hacking and just start reading up on it. The first time I kind of caught wind of this was, I'd say, about 10 years ago, and I found out that the soft sciences were having some reproducibility crises. And now it's kind of bleeding over further. There's other fields that are having reproductive issues when it comes to these tests. My goal is not to tear down science. Just like peer review should challenge those that have produced their papers and produced their data. That's all I'm doing here, is offering a challenge. And the challenge is, if somebody didn't have good morals to begin with, why would we think that somewhere along the way they would play by the rules of niceness and civility? And actually, it's funny that p-hacking, it getting its own term, it's getting its own focus and attention, and it being worked into the mix. It's kind of like, oh, now we recognize, we're so far in on science, now we recognize that we can't necessarily jettison morality and Christianity from it, which is what has happened, is we've kind of taken away the moral foundation, and taking away that foundation, we're pushing forward without it, but then we found out that, like, we can't do that. And so now there's this appeal to, let's be more honest. So the only point there is not to destroy science. I'm not a science denier. I'm not a science hater. Real science never conflicts with the Bible. It always lines up. It is always phenomenal. That's one of the things that's amazing about it. But I want to draw attention to those who think that science, like Andrew Carnegie, is the absolute ground to stand upon. I just want them to see how shaky it is when you've got no requirements about somebody's personal morality to present data for everybody else to believe in.